Chapter 1. The Murder. The Chief of Intelligence, Angelus and Angeline, twin sisters, only 5 years old, were innocent witnesses to a horrifying event that would forever change their lives. It was a dark and stormy night when their father, Chernor, the esteemed Chief of Intelligence Services, was brutally murdered. The heinous act's perpetrator was Zanglee, Chernor's close friend and deputy, who harbored a deep-seated resentment towards his boss. Zanglee's motive for the murder was driven by his insatiable desire for power and recognition. He had long been envious of Chernor's position and influence within the intelligence community. But what fueled his hatred even more was the fact that Chernor had married the woman they both loved, Zainab, who had given birth to the twin sisters. Zanglee's heart was consumed by jealousy and bitterness, and he saw this as an opportunity to eliminate his rival and ascend to the coveted position of Chief of Intelligence Services. The twins, Angelus and Angeline, were innocent bystanders, caught in the crossfire of this deadly betrayal. They watched in horror as their father's life was mercilessly taken away by the very person he had trusted. The trauma of that night would forever be etched in their young minds, shaping their destinies in ways they could never have imagined. After committing the heinous act, Zanglee made a calculated decision to adopt the twin sisters. It was a sinister move, driven by his twisted desire to control and manipulate their lives. Under the guise of a caring guardian, he took them into his home, where darkness and deceit lurked behind closed doors. But fate had a different plan for the sisters. Angelus, the bolder and more rebellious of the two, could not bear to live under Zanglee's oppressive rule. One fateful night, she mustered up the courage to escape through the window, breaking a pendant in the process. She knew that she had to protect her sister and handed her the other half of the pendant before making her daring escape. As luck would have it, Angelus was discovered by a kind-hearted gravedigger named Mr. Abdul. Overwhelmed by compassion, he took her under his wing and adopted her as his own daughter. Mr. Abdul provided Angelus with the love and care she had longed for, giving her a chance at a new and unexpected childhood. Meanwhile, Angeline remained under Zanglee's control, unaware of her sister's escape. She grew up in a world filled with lies and manipulation, her true identity concealed from her. Zanglee, ever the master of deception, ensured that Angeline remained oblivious to the truth of her past. 20 years passed, and Angelus, now a young woman, driven by a burning desire for vengeance, embarked on a quest to seek justice for her father's murder. With the help of her loyal friend, F.D., she delved into the dark underbelly of the intelligence world, determined to uncover the truth and bring Zanglee to his knees. However, her path to revenge was not without obstacles. Angeline, who had finally learned the truth about her past, stood in her sister's way. Angeline's loyalty to the man who had raised her clouded her judgment, causing a rift between the sisters. But deep down, Angeline yearned for justice, just as much as Angelus did. In a twist of fate, the sisters were eventually reunited, their shared pain and desire for retribution bringing them together. United in their mission, they set out to avenge not only their father, but also the man who had become a father figure to Angelus, Mr. Abdul, who had been brutally murdered by Zanglee's goons. The stage was set for a final battle, where the forces of good and evil would clash in a showdown of epic proportions. Angelus and Angeline, armed with the truth and driven by their unwavering determination, prepared to face Zangle and his henchmen head-on. It was a battle that would test their strength, resilience, and, ultimately, their capacity for forgiveness. Little did they know that this final confrontation would not only bring them the justice they sought, but also provide them with the closure they desperately needed. The pendant, broken all those years ago, would serve as a symbol of their resilience and the unbreakable bond between sisters. A betrayal. As the sun began to set on that fateful evening, the innocence of twin sisters, Angelus and Angeline, was shattered by a horrifying act of betrayal. Their father, Chernor, the esteemed chief of intelligence services, fell victim to the very person he trusted the most, his close friend and deputy, Zangle. Zangle's sinister motives had been brewing beneath the surface for years. It was not just professional jealousy that fueled his hatred for Chernor. It was a deeply personal vendetta. Both men had once loved the same woman, Zainab, who had given birth to the twin sisters. But it was Chernor who had won her heart and married her, leaving Zangle consumed by bitterness and resentment. On that fateful night, Zangle saw an opportunity to eliminate his rival and seize the coveted position of Chief of Intelligence Services for himself. With a heart filled with malice, he coldly executed his plan, ending Chernor's life in a single, merciless act of violence. Unbeknownst to Zangle, the young twin sisters had been witnesses to this heinous crime. Fear and confusion gripped their innocent hearts as they watched their father's life slip away before their very eyes. In a desperate bid to protect them, Zangle decided to forever alter the course of their lives. He adopted the twin sisters as his own. Under the guise of a caring guardian, Zangle took the girls into his home, concealing his true intentions behind a facade of love and affection. But Angelus, the older and more perceptive of the two, sensed the darkness that lurked within their new guardian. She knew that they were in grave danger and that they needed to escape. One fateful night, as the moon cast its pale glow upon their bedroom, Angelus devised a daring plan. She carefully broke the pendant that had been a cherished family heirloom, splitting it in half. One half she kept for herself, while the other she entrusted to her sister Angeline. It was a symbol of their bond, a reminder that they would always be connected, no matter what. With a heart full of determination, Angelus climbed out of the window, leaving behind the only life she had ever known. It was then that fate intervened, leading her to a kind-hearted gravedigger named Mr. Abdul. Seeing the young girl alone and frightened, he took her under his wing, adopting her as his own daughter. Meanwhile, Angeline remained trapped in the clutches of Zangle, unaware of her sister's escape. She lived a life filled with uncertainty and fear, constantly haunted by the memory of her father's murder. But deep within her, a flicker of hope burned bright, fueled by the half of the broken pendant that she held close to her heart. 20 long years passed, and Angelus grew into a strong and resilient young woman under the guidance of Mr. Abdul. But the fire of vengeance still burned within her, driving her to seek justice for her father's untimely demise. With the help of her loyal friend, F.D., Angelus embarked on a quest for revenge, determined to bring Zangle to his knees. However, her path to retribution was not without obstacles. Angeline, who had been brainwashed by Zangle, stood in her way, torn between her loyalty to the man who had raised her and the truth that lay buried deep within her soul. It was a painful and emotional journey for the sisters, but eventually they were reunited, their shared pain and desire for justice forging an unbreakable bond. Together, Angelus and Angeline vowed to avenge not only